Well, I don't personally, our company doesn't personally do any VFX. And I remember the big VFX scare that we had maybe about 10 years ago. All the physical effects guys thought we were going to be out of a job with all the computer generated effects coming in. But we're working quite nice together. I think that the big scare is over, and we have lost a lot. We have lost a lot of things to the VFX department, but I think everything as a whole in the film industry, the big set decorations that they used to do, the big refugee camps and things like that in big movies. Done a few jobs in Morocco where we've had to reconstruct big refugee camps and things like that. Whereas nowadays the VFX has done away with all of that. So in many different departments, it wasn't just the special effects department where they were sort of digitalizing things in. They were eating part of the film industry as a whole, the digital department. And but I think that the directors really still like to work with physical effects. I think it's a director thing, and they like to see things at the moment. I think it's all a very, and at least in the impression that I'm getting from a lot of the films and the actors that we work with is that if they can do it physically right there and visualize it, you know what I mean? I think that it helps everyone. It helps the actors, I think, to physically have a lot of the stuff we do, even when we do big sets and things like a lot of the people say, but the smoke you've got over there or this fire, it's not really on the camera at the minute, you know what I mean? It's not, but you're setting the scene, which is quite great, you know what I mean? It's better. I don't know how the actors do it all on a green screen like that. I think it's terrible for them to feel normally on the film set, and I love being a part of that. Yeah, it's true. A lot of the stuff we do is just to even, I've been with directors and when we were shooting Fury with Brad Pitt, it was really a good movie, and the director that we were working with was he really made you feel as if though you were part of the war, you know what I mean? We were all in there and we were shooting many nights and many everything, and once the crew's in that sort of mode as well, that they really feel that you are in the war, I think that's a big part. And I think doing physical effects is part of that. We can help set the scene, that just even a bit of atmos in the background, just a bit of smoke can change so much on a film set, you know what I mean? And yeah, I think in our time anyway, I think the younger generation is starting to get a bit of a trained eye for digital, if you will, you know what I mean? I think a lot of them, the taste in the future, I think has just been bred into the younger generation. And I think eventually the people will look back at physical effects the way we look back at the Rambo movies, Rambo 1 and all of that, and think to yourself, gee, you know what I mean? We've come a far way. And I don't know at what point the full transition will come in, but I do think eventually it will become a physical effect, will become something of the past. I think it will just be for the taste of the digital feel. I think so, but yeah, I don't think I'll see it in my lifetime. I think we'll still manage to ride the physical.
Do you think there is enough, or that there could be a stronger conversation between the physical effect department and the VFX department, where, for example, they were going to do an explosion in the background, and maybe the explosion might not be physical, but maybe the smoke could be physical, or the light coming from the explosion could be physical, where we could be combining both things?
We do it at the minute. We do that. That is how we are combining it. We give them elements to shoot with. So exactly that. For the explosion, we'll sometimes create a smaller explosion that at least they've got a reference of, and that is how we have found a lot of middle ground with VFX and physical effects. We still do simulate the elements for them. So at the end of every shoot, we'll still do what they call an element shoot, obviously, where we go and we'll just shoot everything in small elements, controlled environments, whether they can then make it digitally, a library where they can use it wherever they want. And as long as that's custom made, it still gives a nice feel. As long as your elements and each, when they want to do explosion where it wasn't expected to be, you know what I mean? Where if it wasn't tailor-made for a certain scene, I think that would be ridiculous, where you see visual effects that just looks as if though it shouldn't be there. But I mean, at the minute, everyone is at least still tailor making their own effects, or at least for the feature films. You know what I mean? But if you have to start making explosions from, if you will, because every explosion does different things. Body, the way an explosion explodes would do different things. So the same as you would get a DOP lighting, they would need a digital person if they wanted to really tell a story as to what the explosion should do. The same as someone should, what is it? And in animation, that while you other shows every 2 days. So the fact you go deep, there should be still people in some way to make it realistic would be my opinion, which is why they do the plates and they do the small element shots to feel physically where they should get their references from.
I think we broke up a little bit there at the end. Okay, I think now I lost the last part you were saying.
Okay.
Okay. Well, now talking about the combination of effects, what do you think? I mean, I would like to ask you what you think is coming in terms of um, productions happening in Spain in the next few months. How do you see the future, let's say, for next year? We were talking about a little bit of ramping up productions, but how do you think we're going to be coming back into it?
I think it's a very it's a very difficult question, because I think funny thing sometimes. But Spain has offered a good tax incentive for international movies brought to Spain, and I think that in particular is going to help a lot for the sector in Spain, the Spanish sector. Because before they were more interested in tourism and things like that. For my money, I think the film industry was getting a raw deal in Spain before. But I think with the new incentives, I think we're going to see some pretty good movement, hopefully, next year. What's keeping us back now is the quarantine. The people that leave Spain at the minute. That's why, in my opinion, the commercial industry, anyway, in Barcelona, anyway, where we used to do a lot of service productions, I feel that's sort of been put on hold, and I feel that's taking a little while. We've been really busy the last couple of months, but it was films, it was Netflix productions and things like that. I did 3 productions last month. We're still busy with one now, which was, that's absolutely crazy. We're just really busy. But I think the commercial industry, for my money, it looks like it's taken a bit of a drop, and it's because of the quarantine. Anyone from Europe that goes at the English, for example, I don't know exactly what the case between France and Spain is at the minute. They change daily. I don't know what the case is with France. I know they were trying to keep it open and that there was no quarantine in between France and us, which would have been a good thing. But I know England has brought in a 15-day, 2-week quarantine rule. So anyone who was going to come and shoot a commercial here for a couple of weeks needs to put a month of their schedule aside, considering that they're going to be put into quarantine. So as long as the quarantine rule is, I think that throws a bit of a spanner in the works. But I know the feature films don't mind the quarantine. The world is still moving, to the best of my knowledge, as far as you'll go to the country where you're busy shooting, you're all getting added into the schedule, which is great. So let's see. I really do believe that this tax incentive is going to do wonders for the Spanish film industry. We see how it goes. And I think that the film industry in general is going to do well in the months coming, in the years coming. I think with this whole crazy crisis and everything, I think that it's I, I, I tell Laia, I tell my partner that I feel we like medical workers. I think it's important what we're doing at this time with people being confined in their homes and things like that. I think we need more material. It sounds crazy, but people, this is the time that they need more platforms, more whatever to just keep entertained while they're locked indoors, because it's crazy. I don't know how confined you guys are in Brazil at the moment. Today I had to go and fetch my daughter by her grandparents' house, and driving down a fairly busy highway on a Sunday afternoon, and there was no car inside. It was just clean driving, because I've got to have a special paper to leave the house and things like that. So people are at home and they're busy watching TV.
I mean, in Brazil right now, we're a lot more flexible in terms of quarantine. It's really, we're much closer to how it was normally than how it was in terms of complete quarantine. But I wanted to talk about what you were saying in terms of being a essential service, you could say, our production and our industry. One of the advantages we have in our industry also is that we can ramp up and produce in record time, much quicker than a hotel industry, much quicker than restaurants, where they have to restaff, repurchase everything. We're an industry that's based purely on professionals, and we just need to put people together, and we're back into shooting.
Exactly that. It's exactly that. We just need to, and it's always done it. Like you said, it's a very innovative industry, and we are used to collapsing and going again between project and project. That is what we do. It's very always related to the circus, where you just go and travel. You set up your base camp and you work there. You do your show, and then you move on. And I think that is another reason. You are right. I think that we used to. And it's working. I really do feel. I must say, I feel in Spain anyway. I think there's a lot of new content. I think that they really are working quite hard to get the new content out there and to keep the keep the wheels moving. Which is great. It really is good news. I think. But I've got a godfather of mine that's in the special effects godfather, and he's always explained to me, he's a fair bit older than I am, and he's been through a few different crises in through his time in the world, and he always says that after the crisis, the film industry always bounces back. He says it's always really a good. People do tend to use it as a form of luxury or relaxation or whatever way, as to get away from the crisis, if you will, you know what I mean? So he's always had a firm outlook in that we're in a fairly good industry in any which way you look at it in terms of that.
Yeah. And now with these new platforms, I mean, nowadays we can access content from any country, where maybe when I was 13, it was almost unfeasible or unthinkable of watching a show produced in Spain and completely I would give an example of like Casa de Papel, with 3 seasons of a show. For us to watch that in Brazil was unthinkable. And now we are seeing Korean shows, Japanese shows, Spanish shows, Icelandic shows, and we see a little bit of these cultures of all around the world. And this diversity really, I think, is joining the. I think we lost Wesley. They asked me to ask you if you have any other program that might be eating up your internet connection open also.
Let me take a look. Give me a second. I tell you why. Maybe I'm far from the source, eh? Maybe I need to go closer to my router.
That could be a good idea. Wesley, just now that we've changed up our background, came into a second segment.
Sorry.
I wanted to come back to what we were talking about in terms of world production, where I was saying that when we were young, the idea of us seeing these shows from different parts, of course, we were bombarded by American shows, and we had our national shows and maybe one special production. But now we're able to, one weekend we can watch a Icelandic show, a Spanish show, a Japanese show, a South American show, and all of them with really good production value and really good stories. And I just wanted to know how you feel about this new worldview that we're able to attain.
I think it's brilliant. I think Netflix has got a lot to do with it, to play a role in. They've definitely gone into. I don't want to say local communities, but I feel like saying local communities. But it's as you say, they go into. They'll go to local Spanish production companies, and I feel like using the word exploit, but it's a bad word. They'll use them to create local content, and so much, like you say, so much has come out of it. With Casa de Papel here in Spain, I mean that was, in my opinion, a bigger Netflix. Not creation, but they're creating a need for projects like that, and they're giving people a chance to create their own local products, and I think it's brilliant. I really do feel that that is going to recreate the film industry. I personally think that is definitely the next, with Amazon and all these platforms. I think is going to be the way to go. I love the cinema, but I don't see how. I don't know if it's going to still have that much call for it in the future. The big screen. I think people are quite happy watching and being able to control it from their remote at home. I think it gives people that they can actually choose and pick and choose from platform to platform. We subscribe to various platforms. You know what I mean? It's not that they just need the content from one platform. Even they go in between the different platforms. And I think that yeah, it's just gonna be recreated. I think people are gonna be and I think they're gonna exploit it in for the best good. I think that the film industry is really gonna go up and beyond with this new the new normal. And I think that there's definitely a market for the content. I think there's definitely a market for it.
And that brings me to wanting to ask you, I mean, as people who've worked with a lot of different productions from different countries, there are definitely parallels between working in South Africa and working in Spain. And what do you think are the similarities in with working with an Australian crew or working with a Spanish crew? And what do you think is we have in common? What do you see as our differences?
I think I've always said it's amazing. It is amazing how the film industry. I've worked in a few different countries. I've been blessed to have worked in quite a few different countries, from China to many countries in Africa. And I always say that the film industry, no matter where you go, everyone's the same. The special effects guys in China would be the same as the special effects guys you will meet in Spain or in South Africa, for that matter. The sound guys, the camera department, everyone, the similarities in every department all over the world. I find it so amazing. Differences. I think language. I think the language barrier can sometimes obviously be such a tough one. I think that sometimes people misunderstand it. You must cut this because I don't want to say, but I know that the Americans sometimes, if they come to the country and if you're not understood, the fact that I speak Spanish and English, I can sometimes, yeah, if an international production comes, and sometimes if things don't go the way they planned it, and it's due to communication, definitely, you know what I mean? That they think that it was bad planning or bad, not capable, you know what I mean? Whereas I must admit, I haven't shot in Brazil, but the Spanish filmmakers are absolutely amazing. They really are, in every way, shape, and form, from the creativity side to the technical side, and all the way through. And I've seen not projects fail, but I've seen complaints in that from the international side that come here, and it's just down to bad communication. It really is, and it's horrible to see. You know what I mean? When so I've got a lot of guys that's working for me now, and they always want to learn the latest programs or do special courses, and which is all good and well, but I always tell them that they really need to get English, a good level of English. It's horrible to say, you know what I mean? English is my first language, and I feel it's horrible. I wish it could be another language that I could say, because I don't have to say that they need to learn my first language in order to succeed, but I could open up as well so many more doors for them. You know what I mean? I think that people should definitely try and concentrate on languages, maybe in general languages, and I think that it can help so much as well in the film industry, because it is an international industry, and to be able to deal with people in their own languages and things like that does help them to gain more confidence, and you just have a all-round better time.
Yes, I mean, English still is our universal language, especially on set. Uh, Even though if we could speak, or that we do speak more than 2 or 3 languages, English is still always going to be our fallback language. It's unavoidable. It's really no way. But it's really interesting how we're able to talk to different departments or different people, and even if we don't speak, for example, I've worked with Japanese crews where not everyone spoke English, but just through hand gestures and through understanding what we want, and we're able, I've worked with Indian crews also, and not everyone spoke English, but everyone understands pretty much how our days is going to go and what we have to do, and it really is
It's amazing.
it's an interesting way of working and seeing that we're all pretty much the same thing. There's not that much difference between any country.
Yeah, I found that same experience, and a lot of respect. It's always difficult. What I found the most difficult about traveling to other countries to work there, um, and it's just to politically be a lot of the other countries, when you go and work there, they feel, why was an external source brought in? Sometimes they nearly feel that we're going there to babysit them, or to, because we'll often work hand in hand with the local guys. And sometimes if you're not, but it's never happened. I know it does happen in the industry. It's never happened with the guy I work with. I've mentioned him before, Andy Williams. And he always goes out of his way. You sometimes need to go out of your way to make the local people feel that you're not there to step on any toes. You know what I mean? You've also just been employed as part of the bigger circle. But I've worked on projects where the service in the country where you're shooting, they're a little bit cautious of you in the beginning. But we go out of our way to, by the end of the job, to really make good friends and contacts with the locals there. And I think that's what, for me, that's the fun side of it, to really, sometimes you go there for 3 months. I mean, normally we do a minimum project in a country for 3 months, and in that time I try and learn a little bit of the language and the culture, and that's, but that's not so much about the film industry. That's just generally the culture in between a crew. You know what I mean? Once again, this Andy Williams, he's got a crew of on Mad Max who I think, I don't know if it was 120 or 180 special effects guys. You know what I mean? Special effects crew. And the last job we were all together was Spider-Man. We did the last Homecoming Spider-Man, and I don't want to lie to you, but there was something like 18 different flags. He's got guys that come from 18 different countries, from Australians to South Africans to, he's got very few English guys that actually were working with him. He's got, you name it, he's got all the guys from all over. And he says that's the secret to keeping us all going. He says he's done crews. He's an Englishman, you know what I mean? He says he's worked on crews where it's just a full crew of English. He says, and you lose something. There's no spark. He says, when you got a crew and everyone's from a different country, everyone's trying to learn a little bit of a different language, and on every Sunday you have a bit of a cook up and you do a bit of your traditional food from your country and the next one. So when you're working away from home so much, because you work away, as you know, you work away from home a lot, at least you find that camaraderie within your group, you know what I mean? And I think that is definitely something that I would like to try and with our company, the Action Unit, I'd like to try and keep that going, where we make a nice diverse crew. It doesn't all need to be one nationality. It's a little tricky, showed me, and I think that it definitely does work to keep I've been working with him for 15 years now, and the crew that he has within the bigger circle is really an amazing. People do love to actually go to work. And there's very few people that can say they love to do their job and the people they work with. But it's such a good crew when you can say you actually love the people you work with and things like that. I think, and that's one of the. I'm really proud to say that I never became a famous soccer player or anything like that. But in that sense, I did find a job that I really do enjoy, and I think that is definitely the key.
Yeah, I mean, we have the luck of working on something that not many producers know that we would probably do it for free.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that.
And let's hope they never find out because it's going to
Exactly.
be very difficult to pay my bills if they find out I was doing it for free. But it is great for us to be able to mix our cultures and mix our our ways of seeing the world and communicating. And
Definitely.
language really is, I mean, even though English is universal and it's completely necessary, the nuances of each language really give us new ways of seeing the world. And
Definitely.
uh,
Definitely.
it's very, very interesting to see how people talk and how people interact. I mean, I worked a lot with a Serbian crew when I was in New York, and just the way that they spoke to each other shows like their level of humor and of um, sarcasm of the Serbian people is really specific of their culture and where they come from.
It's
So
amazing. It's what keeps me addicted to the film industry. There was a few times I must admit where we've given a lot. If you think about it, you've given. I'm assuming everyone that's working in the film industry have given up a lot of birthdays and weddings and all the other your social life. I think everyone has given up a little bit of their social life to get to it, but it has given a different cultural experience back. And I think I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I'm really quite happy with the way everything's panned out. I've got a little daughter now that's 4 years old. Um, and that's the only thing. I don't like to travel as much as before.
yes,
And so we're really concentrating quite hard to set something up here in Spain. And let's hope the international industry comes to Spain more than me having to go and work out. Because it's nice to be involved with big projects and things like that. It's always nice to. That's the smaller things in that sense as well. I must say the smaller production companies tend to treat you better. Um, you have less ball aches with them because the big production companies every time it's getting more and more abuse from them, if you will. You know what I mean? It's all the big. But it's nice to be involved. Everyone likes to be involved with a big project that you know is going to make a big success and all the rest of it as well. But yeah, if that was the only downside for me was the traveling, and it does get to a point when and I think it's probably when you have kids when you feel you want to at least have a little bit more control of your schedule, and that is what the plan is now with the company that we've created. Hopefully, we can have a little bit more of a. I don't think it'll ever be a walk in the park because I think that it's a demanding job any which way you look at it, whether you're working in your own country or abroad or wherever you go. I think it's always been a demanding.
it's still going to be long hours and
Yeah.
many days, and there's no way to work around that. But I mean, it's even though with the travel, I also have a 9-year-old daughter, and what we see is that um, the time spent away a lot of times strengthens the time we spend together. So
Definitely. Definitely.
that's we have to
Definitely.
be true
That's
to
a good
that.
way of looking. Yes. Definitely. Definitely. So we
Okay.
see how it goes.
So Wesley, I don't know if we want to speak on to something else, but I think we spoke about pretty much everything. Let me see if Alexandre wants me to ask anything. I don't know if he wants to speak about any specific projects. Let me take a look. I think we can call it a day, and hopefully we'll
Perfect.
be able to.
Thank you so much. If you
More-
need anything else, if you do look over any of the, if you need anything at a later stage, you let me know and I'll be available.
Great.
There's no problem. Thank you very much
Great.
for having me.
It was a pleasure, Wesley, really, and hopefully we'll be able to meet together in some projects in the
I hope so.
future.
I hope so. You go well. Chat soon. Good luck.
Yes, bye.
So, bye-bye.